Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank the Great. This is Loaded Talk, and along with me is...
What's up, Planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Charlie. So, apologies in advance for anything that I sound like, any stutters in my thinking or speaking, and just my general appearance. I am on the verge of a nice hangover. We went out for dinner, and we were just going to have some dinner and maybe a couple drinks, and then hundreds of bar crawl Santa hoes showed up. I mean, there's dudes too, but there was a lot of like slutty Mrs. Clauses of like various ages and attractiveness levels. And but regardless of how unattractive they might be, they made sure that all their bits and pieces were just flopping out all over the place. And apparently this was the last stop of the night because they started at 11 a.m.
Oh no!
And they were wasted. It's like we were facing the water at first because it's on the beach, and then after a while we're like, let's go on the other side of the table and watch this stuff, you know. And so sun's down. We're watching these people, just everyone's drunk, and so at some point, it's dark, and you're seeing how wasted people are. And you're like, God, it's got to be late, Click on the phone, 7:45.
Wow.
Yeah. This one, I was sitting there, and at some point, this little plastic shot glass like hits my arm. I'm like, did somebody just throw a shot glass at me, And so I'm kind of looking, and there's these like old guys sitting right over here, and they're kind of doing this thing, I was like, did those old guys just throw a shot glass at me? And I mean, they were probably 70-ish, early 70s. So kind of like, our dads or something. And so I was like, I don't know. I was like, it's hard to be angry at a wasted-ass 70-year-old, And so all of a sudden I see this one dude who's got antlers on. He walks back. He's got all these little red shots. I was like, well, there he is. I was like, he's about to take a shot. I was like, if he throws that at me. Sure enough, he goes, thoop. And I look, and I didn't catch it, but I had his other one. So I walked over. I just walked over and put the shot glass onto his antler, just like, hey, man. I was like, I'm watching you bang your stupid bell in your wife's face. He had a cowbell. He was just banging on his wife's chair. It was so obnoxious. And so I don't know. I just talked trash a little bit with my arm around him, and all of his friends were laughing about it. And so that ended that. But
who takes shots like that?
They took, I don't know. He was so drunk.
I mean, good thing it wasn't glass.
Yes, good thing it wasn't glass, because I would have been probably a little bit more upset because I was a little cranky, and like the 20-something in myself kind of woke up a little bit where I was like, I'm gonna knock this guy out, And I was like, I'm not gonna knock this guy out. Like, first of all, he's so wasted, and it's just he's having a good time, and it didn't hurt me, but if it was glass, I probably would have been a little bit more angry, but. Anyway, they took shot after shot after shot, and I don't know how strong these shots were, but it was a night. Anyway, then of course we had to drink while we were watching the drunks. We were like, we're better than they are. So a little hair of the dog. All right. Well, there's things happening in the world. We're going to start with the most important, the most entertaining. The hero of our nation, Hunter Biden. There, of course, is an investigation going on into his tax evasion. He's facing years. So, Hunter Biden spent a staggering, let me move my screen, come here, staggering $872,000 on prostitutes, porn, and sex club memberships. Which, by the way, he got banned from the sex club. Did you hear this?
Yeah, because he's just.
Did we talk about this?
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay. Like, how do you get banned from a sex club? I didn't even know they existed until this story popped, and I was like, "What? They have sex clubs? That's weird." All right. Hunter Biden spent. This is for people listening. The Daily Mail. Hunter Biden spent a staggering $870,000 on prostitutes, sex club memberships, and porn, and took out $1.6 million from cash machines in the wild spending spree. Blah, 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 laid out in the tax evasion case. So this was so he spent almost $5 million on a lavish lifestyle between 2016 and 2019 while failing to pay $1.4 million in taxes. In a case that leaves him facing a maximum of 17 years in prison. I'm thinking he gets 17 months of what is it called? Home arrest? House arrest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah, sorry. It's going to be like this. Yeah, whatever. Who cares about his dad's presidential run? That breakdown includes $683,000 on various women, as well as $400,000 on clothing, and also spend $188,000 on adult entertainment. So real quick, $188,000 on adult entertainment does not include various women, and I don't think that includes the porn either. During that time, he was cracking booze. Hunter's now facing 2 criminal trials in the middle of his father's campaign. Let's go to the chart, shall we, Charlie? So this is his 4-year period of spending. As you see, his ATM withdrawals go from $200,000, $500,000, $772,000. 2 years in a row? That can't be true. No way he withdrew the exact same amount of cash 2 years in a row. I think they screwed that up.
It's impressive if he did.
Yeah, and that doesn't add up either, because that'd be $700,000 times 3 would be 2.1 million. This is a grand total of 1.6. Boom, gotcha, Daily Mail. Also, how about that for math? I just did that.
Well done.
Thank you. Payments, various women. 2016, pretty, $4,400 on some women. I think any one of us has spent $4,000 on a woman in the course of a year. I think we have. Then it jumps to $138,000, $383,000, then back down to a modest $156,000. Let's see.
He cooled his jets.
He cooled his jets, yeah. Clothing, spent a lot. Tuition, this is my favorite part during all that. Tuition, education, and extracurricular, which I still don't know if that means hookers. But it starts at $117,000, and then it steadily declines to a nice $4,000. He's like, fuck tuition. I got hookers. Where's the other stuff? Insurance, who cares? Adult entertainment, here we go. $4,000, $56,000, $100,000, $27,000. So that's definitely other than the women. Rehab. See. 7 to 28 to 35. I mean, rehab, okay. And then, entertainment, which also should be hookers. But let's see.
He didn't touch his IRA, so that's cool.
Yeah, look at the pic. So scroll down real quick. I'm pretty sure this picture of him with the hooker's hair pulling, I'm pretty sure this is a picture he sent to his dad. So just something to
Hey, Joe.
think about. Yeah,
Look at this.
It was like, hey, what are you up to, son? He's just like, boom, that's what I'm up to. So let's see. Some payments are laid out in excruciating detail, including $11,500 for an escort to spend just 2 nights with them in 2018. And actually, that doesn't sound crazy to me. I would think a hooker. I've never rented a hooker. Never paid for hooker services, I guess I should say. As a kid, I remember on TV shows, made it sound like $100 is what you pay a hooker. But I don't think you get good hookers for $100.
Probably not.
I think Charlie Sheen paid a lot more than that. And I would think Hunter Biden is getting more like Charlie Sheen level hookers. So I think, 2 full nights for $11,000 probably sounds about right for like a nice hooker. I mean, he's the president's son. He's not going to get some crappy hooker. That's un-American. But this is Hunter made $3,947 in payments to M Street Management, a strip club in Washington, D.C. January 2018. I love that name. M Street Management. It's like, oh, that sounds legit. He used his business line of credit to make $27,316 in payments to an online pornography website, which in total accounted for 1/5 of all of the business line of credit expenditures. He uses business line, 20% of it for a porn website or websites. Like, it's got to be more than one website, right? Payments to an online.
Must have found a good one.
I know. Maybe it's OnlyFans who's paying it in lots of different directions or something. He also sent $1,500 in Venmo payments to an exotic dancer at a strip club that he attempted to pass off as a purchase of artwork. He's like, that ass is a piece of art, which I'm not even saying is wrong.
Nice reach.
Yeah, it's a reach, but nice ass. Or who cares about health and beauty supplies? Who cares about renting a Lamborghini? Look at all these hookers. All these pictures are mainly him with hookers. He spent stuff on a hotel. Who cares? Airbnb. Who cares? Let's see. So these latest allegations come as Biden's son already faces 3 felony charges that carry a maximum combined 25 years incarceration, $250,000 fine, about the gun purchase. And then it's his latest indictment alleges Hunter attempted to evade assessment of taxes for tax year 2018 when he filed false returns on February 2020. As well as failing to file and pay his taxes, he also been accused of including false business deductions in his 2018 returns to reduce his tax bill. The defendant engaged in a 4-year scheme not to pay at least $1.4 million in self-assessed federal taxes he owed for tax years 2016 through 2019. And then they just keep repeating themselves over and over again, which is something weird about this article. If you scan down,
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, they repeat it again. I don't know what's up with the Daily Mail. I think maybe he was doing crack with Hunter Biden or something. Who's the author of this? Let's see. Actually, better question. Who's the damn editor of this? Yep. Sorry, Hunter Biden's ponytail. Oh, Alice Wright. Well, Alice Wright, I'm disappointed in you. And I'm disappointed in your editor. And that means a lot coming from me, random guy on the internet in America. So how about that? That's what old Hunty Poo's been up to. And I just wonder, I mean, do you actually think he's going to get a day jail time for any of this stuff?
No.
And I don't even agree with this gun charge. I think the gun charge should be thrown out. Like, the form, are you addicted to drugs to buy a gun? It's like, go to hell. Like, go to hell. Like, maybe I am. What about it? What about it? Give me my guns. I think we should all be able to have, like, machine guns and tanks. And if we want a little bumpy bump, off the tank, America. That's America right there. I do think, though, did you hear about Dana Carvey's kid?
No.
Dana Carvey's son was like 32 or 36 or something. So, but he just died of an accidental drug overdose. I think he was a comic as well. Hadn't taken off yet. But, you see accidental drug overdose, and the only thing I can think is fentanyl and coke, just because, comics and, probably coke. But, like, it makes me think it's fentanyl. But if coke was legal, it wouldn't be any fentanyl in it, And, like, that's the scariest part about, like, the kid's 13, about to enter high school. And, some people experiment a little bit with certain drugs between, like, high school and college. And it's just so different from, like, when we were there, because, like, if someone handed you, like, a Xanax or something, you pop it, worst case scenario, you fall sleepy, Nowadays, like, the likelihood that it's actually pressed by some dude who bought a pill press and it's just dabbling the fentanyl with caking agent, like, the odds are huge. The odds are huge. And, like, even like hard drugs, like, coke and things like that, oxys, like, at least back then, it was just coke and oxys, And I remember, like, when, like, ecstasy was real big before it became Molly and all that kind of stuff. Like, all these drugs that people used to, like, party on, you'd hear about throughout high school and college, like, it's terrifying. Like, I don't know. It's terrifying.
Seems like an opportunity for somebody to create some quick at-home test kits.
Well, they've got the test kits. Yeah, you can buy them on Amazon. And it's one of those things you kind of think about. It's like, as a parent, like, I do not condone you doing drugs. At the same time, like, I think that some kids are going to try some stuff. And it's just like, y'all should have a fentanyl test kit. Because, like, if you are going to try Xanax or Coke or whatever the hell, like, test it.
Be confident.
Be confident, yeah. Yeah, remember when in the 90s when, like, ecstasy was real big and some people were, like, ODing because it was cut weird. I forget what made it not clean. I don't think it was just heroin because some of them just had heroin in them, But with the brown spots. But they had all those ecstasy testing services where, like, you can send it off and they'd test it for free and be like, nah, it's safe. You can take it. It's not going to kill you. I don't remember what was in those that was killing people. But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Why did I bring that up? I don't know. Hunter Biden, I guess. But that was, I think, the most important thing that's happened this week because, obviously, the president's son has the same rules that we all have to follow by. The government's very interested in making sure we all follow the same rules and get equal protection. On that note, the White House is threatening the patents of high-priced drugs developed with taxpayer dollars. So one of the big things we have is intellectual property rights. You know, we've got private property, we've got our like the physical things we own, but there's intellectual property. And so the Biden administration is putting pharmaceutical companies on notice, warning them that if the price of certain drugs is too high, the government might cancel their patent protection and allow rivals to make their own versions. So they'll just steal it and give it to your competitors. Under the plan announced Thursday, the government would consider overriding the patent for high-priced drugs that have been developed with the help of taxpayer money and letting competitors make them in hopes of driving down the costs. Today,
In hopes.
in hopes. Right, not a guarantee. It's like, hey, I mean, supply and demand, more supply, price goes down. But it doesn't, it's like you take it from Pfizer and give it to Moderna or whatever, and you give it to, who are the Oxy people? The Sacklers, what's their company? Purdue. And you give it to all them. What if they all just go, all right, instead of charging $700, let's charge $680.
Right.
Like we all agree? Cool, $680. Today we're taking a very important step towards ending price gouging, so you don't have to pay more for the medicine you need, he said. Let's see. White House officials would not name drugs that might potentially be targeted. The government would consider seizing a patent if a drug is only available to a narrow set of consumers. According to the proposal, that would be open to public comment. Yeah, whatever. It's the latest health policy pitch from a White House gearing up to make its efforts to tackle drug prices a central theme. And here's the thing. So they basically, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but their basic logic is taxpayer money went into the development of this. There's a lot of pharmaceuticals where the government apparently helps subsidize the cost of developing a drug, which I didn't know that. I always heard, one reason to justify the high prices of a drug before it hits generic is the R&D costs involved. You spend $1 billion doing R&D to develop a whatever pill. You need to make your money back or you go out of business. So while you have patent protections before it goes to generic, you price it wherever you can price it. And then, it gets a little cheaper with time and all that. And that makes sense, Of course, that's just fair. But if you're not expending that, if I'm paying for the development of it, and then you're going to charge a whole bunch, you can go to hell. Now, the government shouldn't be able to take your patent, but the problem is you're colluding with the government. And so if you're going to collude with the government and they're going to be your business partners in it, I guess, you have like a non-compete. Because if you and I develop something together, right, there would surely be a contract where we said, all right, this is a joint effort. All proceeds come from us. You can't sell it to anybody. I can't sell it to anybody. This is our baby, And if you did go and give it to our competitors, I'd sue you. But you're not the federal government, and you don't have the full force of the U.S. military behind you, So, I think they're the shadiest partner you could possibly have. So if you're going to do business with criminals, if you get involved with the mafia and the mafia steals your stuff, people don't say anything about it. It's like, oh, you got involved with the mafia for your restaurant, and now they're stealing all your supplies out of the back door, and they're going to set your restaurant on fire after it goes, and they're going to charge up a bunch of lines of credit on you, set your thing on fire, collect the insurance money, and you go, well, you shouldn't have got involved with the mafia. Well, that's the U.S. government. It's just like they won't even try to pretend to be fair. And they're just like, apparently, they're just going to take it. And they're going to give it to your competitors. And they're going to do it for votes. Not to help anybody. Because it said, gearing up to make its efforts to tackle drug prices a central theme in next year's re-election campaign. It's really that. They're going to take all your stuff so that they can be in power for 4 more years. Not even forever. Just 4 years of power. And, this is something that I guess Biden thinks polls well? I mean, what does that sound like to you?
Well, I mean, what immediately comes to mind is if I do this and I allow competitors to take your patents, the competitors are going to put money in my pocket because I made that happen,
That's very true. Yeah. If yeah, you probably would. Well, yeah, the lobbyists for, as opposed to the pharmaceutical industry, looks like it'll be the lobby for Pfizer specific or something like that. Um, but luckily, I think that's probably the only way that the government has been corrupt lately. I don't think there's been any other way. So there's this report on theblaze.com. FBI abused its counterterrorism tools to target Catholic Americans and would continue doing so, but for a whistleblower. Congressional lawmakers released an interim report Monday titled "The FBI's Breach of Religious Freedom: The Weaponization of Law Enforcement Against the Catholic Americans," providing a glimpse into the lengths the FBI has gone to cast those conservative religious beliefs as threats, apparently requiring state surveillance and mitigation. The new report from the House Judiciary Committee and its select subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government indicated the FBI abused its counterterrorism tools to target Catholic Americans as potential domestic terrorists. It relied on at least one undercover agent to develop its assessment. It proposed developing sources among the Catholic clergy and church leadership and would likely still be violating the religious liberties of millions of Catholic Americans were it not for this one special agent, Kyle Serafin's disclosure. So basically, they were looking into the suspicion of conservative Catholics after, or the subcommittee started looking into it after this dude blew the whistle. But basically, there was like one guy who was a nutter, right? So they had this one nut guy who was just like, I'm going to do something horrible. I forget what he was going to do. And he was like, he considered himself a radical traditional Catholic. Okay. And so, according to this report, they took, the pretext for the anti-Catholic initiative appears to have been the self-identification of a single parishioner under investigation as a radical traditionalist Catholic. Agents reportedly interviewed the parishioner's priest and the choir director. How does he sing? Is he like a baritone? What is he? Hits the notes? Okay. Director related to his church while developing the memo. While FBI employees reportedly could not define the radical traditionalist Catholic descriptor, the phantom danger nevertheless became the meat of an FBI-wide memo concerning the alleged dangers of radical Catholics. So basically, they have spent a lot of time investigating the Catholic Church and Catholics in general, because they think that'll be the next source for domestic terrorism, though they've pulled up exactly bubkiss for evidence. They've got nothing. They've got absolutely nothing, but they've been like sending undercover agents into Catholic churches. They've been like watching them.
So it's a fugazi? They're just chasing nothing?
They're chasing nothing, but they're chasing nothing, but it's like, I don't know. It makes you think that they're going to do the Muslim thing, where it's just like, I don't know, you watch it for a while and then you figure out how to make them a terrorist, you know? And then maybe you get, you wait till you find your one nutter and you go, hey, you want to blow something up? You know? And then eventually he's just like, all right, I'll blow something up. And you're like, boom, gotcha. Yeah, terrorists. Let's see. Yeah, they failed to consider. Oh, this is possibly the worst part. So Salon recently evidenced its skew by advancing the claim that MAGA and Christian nationalism constitutes a greater threat than Hamas could ever be. The Southern Poverty Law Center has claimed that RTCs, which is the radical traditionalist Catholics, may make up the largest single group of serious anti-Semites in America. I mean, Jesus was king of the Jews, right? That's his nickname,
what?
Right?
It's the biggest reach ever.
Is Kelly Catholic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think she's an anti-Semite. I've been thinking about it a long time.
Most likely.
But yeah, so that was part of their open source data was the Southern Poverty Law Center, Salon, and The Atlantic. They read articles on, like we do, and they go, well, Salon and The Atlantic and the Southern Poverty Law Center says like traditional Catholics are going to be terrorists, so at the FBI, that's enough for us. So they've just been like investigating them and Yeah, it's using our tax dollars for it.
They're just justifying their jobs. This is ridiculous.
It does seem like they have nothing better to do. Like we talked last week about the air marshals that were like picking up Uber Eats orders, which doesn't make sense because Uber Eats delivers to you. I don't know why they were running to pick up food orders for Uber Eats. And were they getting paid as an Uber driver?
I mean, you can order pickup on Uber.
Well, I guess that's true. But why would, yeah. But just get it brought to the border.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Enter location.
Yeah, enter location.
Top secret.
They're like, no, we don't need to, we're not going to pay $12 to an Uber driver. We have air marshals to run our errands for us. Well, yeah, our air marshals have nothing to do. FBI's got nothing to do. And it's just, they're like, all right, well, Catholics, we're going to look into them. It's like, what do you think about all the people coming over the border? They go, yeah, that's fine. Did you see all the Chinese nationals? I didn't even pull this up, but last week, I think it was, they took this picture, and it was like 20 or 40. It was some crazy number like that of like 20-something male Chinese citizens that like they all came over the southern border. Like, here we are, and they're just like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, oh, sanctuary or whatever. It's like, okay. Hi. Like, China, South America through Mexico, and here you are through the southern border. Like, I'm not the biggest like border hawk guy. Like, I do think it's appropriate for a country to have control of their borders. I think you should allow the free flow of like goods and labor and all that kind of stuff. But when you come on this side of the imaginary line, we got laws. And on that side of the imaginary line, there's different laws, So when you're here, follow these rules. I'm not too wacky about it. But it is crazy because you go, oh, Venezuelans, you go, damn, they came a long way. And like they didn't want to stop anywhere else, and be like, oh, I'm going to stop here in, I don't know, El Salvador or Belize. Belize would be nice. But like, nope, we got to get all the way to America. I was like, oh, that's crazy. But now it's like Chinese citizens, like they really had to go out of their way to just not fly to LaGuardia, or to California. Because like you would think if you're Chinese and you wanted to get across the ocean so you could get to America, you would just fly to America. So it is not ideal that they're coming through the southern border and like some like the Arab nations and all that, just because it's like you had to fly here. You had to fly here. And yet, instead of just coming in, you're sneaking in through the south. Like, I don't know what it means, but it's suspect. I mean,
it's more suspect than extreme Catholics. That's for sure.
That's right, yeah. That's right, it is. So when you hear like Vivek Ramaswamy talk about firing all the FBI, like it just sounds so good to me. Just so good. I know he's not going to win. And people don't, I actually wanted to bring this up. Did you watch any of the Republican debate?
I only saw the clips of him trolling Chris Christie, which was fantastic.
He went after Nikki Haley a lot too. I people in the conservative sphere, a big chunk of them do not like Vivek, and he entertains me to no end. And like they're like, oh, he's smug and he's this and he's that, and it's like, yeah, but y'all are all assholes. Like he ruffles their feathers so well. But yeah, this debate, apparently no one saw it because like they said the ratings were down like 40% because it's on News Nation. Are you aware of News Nation?
Nope.
I think something else was there, but like I forget who. I think Chris Cuomo might be on it. And I think Megyn Kelly was the moderator. I don't know if she's on News Nation, but there's like a hodgepodge of like former cable news people on News Nation. I'm not sure if it's right wing or left wing. I don't even know. I know nothing about News Nation. I think it used to be something weird like WGN or something like that. I think I looked it up one time. I'm like, what is News Nation? It was like, oh, it used to be something like a WGN type thing. Anyway, so no one watched it, but Megyn Kelly did a great job of moderating the debate, because at some point they would start like bickering and yelling at each other, and she was just like, hey, no one can hear you. And they're like, sorry. And they go, you go, and then you go. I don't know, she did a great job. Like, because a couple debates ago, it was just so, actually a couple of them, I didn't see the last one. I forgot it existed. This one I missed the first hour of, and I was like, oh, right, let me turn it on. But no, she kept it like flowing and all that. Chris Christie got to be Chris Christie, just a blowhard talking smack. He was going at, it's weird. Chris Christie says he's there to take out Trump, right? Like that's like his whole thing is he's like the tough guy that's going to take out the bully. But yet he spends a lot of time attacking like DeSantis and of course Vivek, because like he does not like Vivek Ramaswamy. But you would think like if your goal is to kneecap Trump, you'd be trying to lift up like DeSantis or Haley, one of those two, you know. And he kind of favors Haley. I think maybe that's his goal right now is going the Haley route. Because like, but he's such a blowhard. He's like, you know, Vivek, you insulted her intelligence and so like he at some point Ramaswamy wrote Nikki equals corrupt, and so he's talking. He just lifts it up, and I know like some people are like that's so childish and everything else, but I was like, I love it because he was talking about how like, you know, all the money she gets from Boeing, or she got from being on the board of Boeing afterwards. Like she's part of the military industrial complex, and like it's like she can't even name the provinces that she wants to bomb, and which I thought was great. I guess I don't know. A lot of I've heard some Republican types say that. Oh, well, that's stupid. You know, like saying, oh, you can't name every capital, you can't name every city, and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, there's atlases and stuff, but it's like, but I think it's a fair point that if you're talking about like bombing, going to war, you need to be familiar with the region. You know, like what we just gonna go in just shooting, like screw these guys, pew pew pew. You know, which I mean, traditionally speaking, is how we do it. But I think it's a fair critique to say we shouldn't do it that way. But no, I think that debate. I think DeSantis actually came out the winner of it. Because it was the first time that Haley really had to get attacked. Because like she was kind of on the offensive, and she'd play the victim card sometime, or oh, you need a woman, and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, she came out real good, you know. Like Vivek tried to attack her like in the last one, and it didn't really go well. But this time, like she caught a lot of flack, and I don't know that she stood up well to it. You know, there's something like when Vivek did the corruption thing and like tore into her, like, do you want time to respond? She's like, I don't need to respond to that. And I thought that probably went over well with her base, but I don't know that it grew her at all. And, you know, once again, Trump's leading these people by so many points it almost doesn't matter, you know? So I don't see how Trump doesn't become the nominee just because his numbers stay good. Like he's doing the Biden tactic. Where he's like hiding in the basement and just doing fine. One of the kind of splashy moments was Chris Christie. Megyn Kelly asked DeSantis if he thought Trump had all his faculties, basically, and was coherent enough to be president. And DeSantis kind of danced around it a lot. And he was like, you know, Father Time is undefeated was his line. He's like, Father Time's undefeated. He's like, I just feel like we should have someone who's president that's going to be alive to see the results of these things. You know, these two 80-year-olds, and like but he wouldn't say yes or no. He didn't say Trump doesn't have his faculties, isn't capable. But he wouldn't say he is either. You know, he's just like, look, he's like, he's fine. Look, I'm not saying right now. He's like, but you know, 4 years from now. I got like a loose hair that keeps tickling my forehead. But he's like, you know, 4 years from now, who knows? And Chris Christie called him. He's like, look at him not answering. Look at him not answering. This is blah, 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 blah. And you would think once again, Chris Christie should be going after Trump in that moment, not DeSantis, if the goal is to take out Trump. Anyway, I would say that was probably DeSantis' worst moment, but I think he walked away with that as a solid winner because he did a good job. He didn't have his weird smile thing going like he did with Newsom. I think, luckily, whoever was watching it, probably his wife, his wife's apparently very savvy. When he was running for governor, the commercial where he was like, and then Trump said, build the wall. I guess that was her call. Like, she came up with that, and she came up with something else for his reelection thing. So she's politically very savvy, and maybe just in general very savvy. But yeah, somebody told him to stop doing that smiling crap, which is good. I mean, it's probably not going to be enough, but it was better. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I think we're going to be stuck with the 80 versus 80. And you know what? Let's just go ahead before we get to something else, corruption. I'm going to jump to my thing at the end. Because speaking of the 80-year-olds, Alex Jones was recently on Tucker Carlson on X, which is a funny. Every time someone says on X, I always think about ecstasy. So it's like Tucker Carlson on X. He's just sitting there like, oh,
this leather.
Oh, chair feels so good. Anyway. So Alex Jones tells Tucker Carlson that President Biden walks around the White House naked, drugged on amphetamines and benzos.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the poll? So Elon Musk did a poll again. Should Alex Jones be reinstated on Twitter? And he's done this before. He did it with Trump. He's done it with a few people. He says, was it Vox Populi or whatever? Basically, he'll adhere to the vote, And it ended today with 70% saying yes. So I think Alex Jones is about to be on X. Ripping his shirt off. Oh, the man. Let's see. So on Thursday, Tucker Carlson broadcast an interview with disgraced conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, in which Jones claimed that President Joe Biden is drugged up on amphetamines and wanders the White House naked and lost in the middle of the night. Carlson, who cares? Yeah, he's been interviewing people. Thursday, he spoke to Jones, who's still fighting a lawsuit about Sandy Hook. Hold on, let's see. I don't care about any of you. Jones said he wanders around for the entire 2.5 years, naked in the White House, in the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning, and then they drug him at night. Sometimes he'll be out for the morning for a while, then come back at night for a ball. For a ball? That hurts me doing that. And, yeah, that's when there's a real problem. Hold on 1 second. I really tore up my throat doing that. I was already a little dehydrated this morning. And Carlson says, he is on drugs. I've established that. That's my Carlson. You like it? I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone who witnessed him taking amphetamines. And this was during the 2020 election. Jones told Carlson, that's huge. I know you don't play games. So Jones, who made a career by shouting about a wicked Jewish mafia and Muslim terrorists in our midst, claiming to have uncovered Satanist globalist plot to impose New World Order. I am not on the Alex Jones was right necessarily, because he's been so crazy about so many things. But excuse me, he was right about a lot of stuff.
He's not completely inaccurate.
No, he's not. I think, he touches a lot of truth, and then he goes wild with it. He swings for the fences, but it's one of those things, when he talks about, an island that all the pedophiles go to and the government and all that, and then what's his face, Epstein, you go, oh shit, there was a pedophile island. And then even my favorite line he's ever said in the history of everything is about fluoride, turning the freaking frogs gay. And I love that, but it ends up the fluoride had caused frogs to switch genders, so it didn't make them gay. but it did switch their genders. I think that was in some study where they were testing it. And it's just like, well, I mean, as hilarious as it was hilarious when he rips his shirt open and he sells his like bunk supplements and all that kind of stuff that's full of God knows what. But he keeps touching on real stuff, and it's difficult. It's difficult because it's like, the world is crazy. The world is crazy, and like during January 6th and some other stuff, like Alex Jones was there going like, "Don't do this, people! Come on, don't do it!" And it's like Alex Jones was the voice of reason. That's the weirdest thing about the time we live in is the number of voices of reason. Some of the most reasonable people I've heard in the last year, in certain times, is like Alex Jones, Lil Wayne, Be Real, and it's just one of these things where it's like, Be Real's like 50 now or whatever. And like like Wheezy, Lil Wayne is like, nah, man, things are good. Like, I think everyone's making this race stuff too big, and like everyone's just chill out, and like, but it's like why are these the reasonable voices? Like, they shouldn't be the reasonable voices. They should be the crazy or the wild. Like Be Real has a podcast where he makes you smoke weed beforehand, and then he makes you smoke so much weed. Those
are great rules.
Yeah, it's called it's like Hot Box or something like that. Huh. And like literally, like the whole time they just keep going, and they just basically get everyone so stoned. And like that's what he does for fun. And for money. Outside of dropping mad rhymes. I was listening to Cypress Hill the other day. I really like Cypress Hill.
Me too.
Yeah. And like eventually, once this podcast hits the big time, I want to get old Muggs. If Muggs could make our theme music, that would make me so happy.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, Audio X exclusive. Anyway, so we were talking about old Presidente, so I figured there was really. I haven't finished all of the Alex Jones interview. He goes on. I noticed, like I was listening to it while I was working. And at some point, he says so many words that it all just becomes this like white noise to me. And I noticed, I was like, I don't even know what he's been saying for like the last 5 minutes. Just turned it off, because it's like Satanist club, like it just keeps going. All right, hold on. Let's go to. Let me see. Oops. I'll come back to that. There's been more FBI stuff, but I want to talk about this here president of the university. Go to the YouTube thing and let's give it a listen. Let's hear some input from you, Mr. Charles. This is the University of Penn president getting grilled in Congress. At some point.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill.
Ms. McGill?
So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If the
yes or no?
If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer.
The world.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes.
You don't know.
This is how I peed out fat in just one this special coffee
Make it
loophole.
stop. Make it stop. This is how I peed out fat.
What a way to end a video.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, outside of peeing out fat, Charlie. So, University of Penn, how do you feel about her answers there? You as a chosen person of Israel.
Well, I mean, clearly somebody's trying to avoid saying what they truly feel. I mean, you could tell by her smile that she's like, okay, if I answer this how I should, I condemn my whoever the relationship
friendly.
Yeah. So
what do you think her answers were? Bad or
oh yeah, I mean it's kind of obvious. I mean, it's not anti-Semitism until you commit genocide. Wait, what?
yeah. Okay. So, and on the surface, I agree, but let me now pose it this way, right? So you know how we've been talking about how like any criticism of Israel's been called like anti-Semitism, right? All right. So the chant, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Palestinian defenders say that's not a chant for genocide. That's a chant saying, they will be free throughout the land. They will not. It's just about them being free. And then people that are not as friendly to Palestine, or at least that, more Israel-centric, will say, no, that call means you remove all Jews between the river and the sea. That is a call for genocide. So, in that, I know I've heard, whether it's like Ben Shapiro or something like that, a number of things that have been said to be a call for genocide. So it's like, all right, so if kids on a college campus say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is that a call for genocide that should get people expelled from school?
No. I mean, on the surface, do they themselves understand what they're saying? And is their intention of its use different than somebody else's? You
get a bunch of 20-year-olds marching around a campus, chanting this thing, and then they do their protest and they go home. Wave Palestinian flags. Boo, Israel,
I guess I'm just the kind of person that's like, unless you're telling me that you're going to kill all Jews, then I'm not going to take you seriously until you say that, know?
Yeah. Well, then that's kind of my thing, because you listen to it, and definitely in the conservative verse, people are like, this is ridiculous. Obviously, if you call for the genocide, you can't call for, calling for murder is not something you do. That should be against the rules. You're like, yeah. But when you call everything a call for or not everything, but it's like the racism charge or fascist, where you go, oh, do you should you let fascists in this building? You go, no, I don't like fascists. Then it's like, well, define fascism. It's like I don't know. You want lower taxes. It's like, well, I don't think that's fascism. And it's just like, because it's like, all right, the definitions are getting very broad here, and that's my weird part. Where like, she goes, well, if it's directed at somebody, if someone's like directing it at a person, that's harassment. If it's leading to action, that's harassment. I think it is a difficult position in that. You go, well, obviously, no, you can't call for genocide. They go, okay, well, here's all these kids saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And you go, and then you have to go, well, that's not a call for genocide. Oh, it's not a call for genocide. So, like, I don't know. That's sort of how I feel on the matter. Like, I don't know. Is that reasonable, you think?
Yeah, it's just a continuation of everyone finding everything wrong with everything.
That's a good way to put it. Everyone finds everything wrong with everything. Well, and so, you look at, I saw someone doing a Twitter poll. Do you think she should be fired for her answers in Congress? It's like, no, like, she's president. She has a lot. And I think I always lean towards freedom of speech. Like, I know your college, you're going to have rules. Any organization's going to have rules. And you can't have someone out there being like, kill the Jews, hang the blacks, all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, you can rules against that. Like, that's very reasonable. But like, this just felt like a setup. Like, once again, like, did you tell anyone you beat your wife? Type thing. 2 weeks in a row, I got to pull that one. Well, wealthy donor pulls gift worth $100 million from University of Pennsylvania after president defends anti-Semitism in Congress. So this is the Blaze, which that headline alone, I kind of disagree. Hearing that, I did not hear the president defending anti-Semitism.
No.
Right?
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay. University of Pennsylvania will lose out on a massive donation worth $100 million after the university president made a bizarre defense of anti-Semitism. She didn't. Blah, blah, blah. She testified in Congress on Tuesday about what college officials were doing about calls for violence against Jews. Which, by the way, like, I saw an article about how, like, in certain areas, like, Jewish people are afraid to put up their menorahs and stuff for Hanukkah.
It's understandable.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's... and I guess, like, in Manhattan...
It's tough if you have mezuzahs in your doorway, though, because they have to be permanent.
Yeah. I didn't
Your front door, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, all doors, but your front door is visible to everyone.
And why are they cockeyed? Like, why are they slanted? Are they always
I
slanted?
can't remember the reason why they're slanted.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember either. I remember there is a reason. Yeah, no, anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, that's a good point too. I wonder if people are keeping them up. I don't know. In St. Pete, have you seen anything in St. Pete that's been... Yeah, me neither. St. Pete seems pretty chill. I don't know. All right. But let's see. So Ross Stevens, founder and CEO of Stone Ridge Asset Management, told the university in a letter Thursday that he's pulling his massive donation and specifically cited the testimony about anti-Semitism. Mr. Stevens and Stone Ridge are appalled by the university's stance on anti-Semitism on campus. Its permissive approach to hate speech, calling for violence against Jews, and laissez-faire attitude towards harassment and discrimination against Jewish students would violate any policies of rules that prohibit harassment and discrimination based on religion. She tried to explain her comments in the video on social media. There was a moment at yesterday's hearing on anti-Semitism where I was asked if the call for genocide of Jewish people on our campus would violate our policies. In that moment, I was focused on our university's long-standing policies aligned with the U.S. Constitution, which says that speech alone is not punishable. I assume this is what she sounds like, even though we just heard her. I was not focused on what I should have been, the irrefutable fact that a call for genocide of Jewish people is a call for some of the most terrible violence human beings can perpetrate. It's evil, plain and simple. Yeah, genocide is not good. Like, I think that's fair. So first, the university defended Magill when it was criticized for students calling for an intifada. Did that really happen? Okay. The university has taken a clear and comprehensive action to prevent, address, and respond to anti-Semitism with an action plan, and whatever. She says it's vile, but, oh, maybe this is a different thing. She stepped down. She submitted...
What?
Yeah, I thought it was in this article, but I guess not. After they lost this donation and everything else, like, it's just she's getting so much heat. She resigned. Like, that interaction cost her job. Which, like...
I mean, so she said she was just defending the rights for free speech, and that's how I kind of felt she was. Although what she said after the fact, she should have said while there to make sure there were no questions about what her intentions were.
Well, that's the problem with these congressional hearings, though, is they're all bullshit. It's about as a representative, getting famous, especially because, like, you know who that was asking her questions? I have no idea. But I bet you in some circles, that woman is now well-known. You know, it's like, oh, Congressman, whoever the hell, like, she's going to fundraise like crazy.
Yeah, she was very direct, and
I mean, it was a takedown. Like, if she wasn't a prosecutor before this, then she missed her calling. Because, like, I mean, it was even though I think what the president said was reasonable, especially considering the environment she was in. I mean, it was a takedown. You got eviscerated. You know, she got like totally eviscerated by that woman. But like, that's the thing. Like, congressional hearings are not about truth or answers. Even the ones that we like, against the weaponization of the federal government, they normally don't do anything, but they give people screen time. And, you know, we'll see. Maybe Hunter Biden goes to jail. Maybe the FBI gets shut down. Maybe people get held accountable for their actions. But, I mean, when has that happened?
It's like hoping the drug prices will go down.
Yeah. The only drug prices that go down are the illegal ones, you know, because the war on drugs has been working. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's such a dishonest venue that, like, I don't know. It's hard. And, like, have you ever been into like a deposition?
No.
It's in a deposition, like, well, maybe not so much, but an any sort of court thing. It's really weird because people will ask you a question and you answer, but then someone asks you a question and you feel them leading you. You know where it's going. And you go, well, I know the answer to this, but I know that the answer is about to be twisted on me. So then you go, how do I not give them the fuel to like twist this against me? And you end up coming across dishonest because, you know, have you ever done this? Or, you know, it'll be some question and you just go like, shit, that sounds a lot. It's, you know, it's like, have you ever been physical with your child? And it's like, you know, you go, well, we used to do jujitsu together. So, I mean, yeah, we wrestle and stuff like that. So you go, I mean, yeah, I've been physical. I'm like, oh, okay. And so how often has that resulted in injury? You go, I don't think ever. It's like, did you not go to the emergency room when your child was 5 for a arm out of socket? You go, I mean, but that was different. And, you know, and suddenly it's like this whole thing. The kid held onto my thumbs after you brush his teeth. I pick him up, you grab my thumbs, I go like that. So one time, it popped outside. Oh, luckily the ER was so crowded. By the time before we got called, I accidentally popped it back into the socket. They had little video games at Bay Front or St. Anthony's, I forget which one. And so I was like, all right, I'll take him over there to tap the thingy. So I was holding him, you know, like he was laying down on my chest, you know. And so I went to stand up, kind of like that. And when I did, it popped his shoulder back into place. And like he screamed like real loud for about 1 second. We get over the video game, and all of a sudden his arm that was hurt so bad, he starts going ding, 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 ding. I was just like, I think he's okay, you know? Like Sally used to get her arm dislocated every few months, you know? So anyway, all that, like it's one of those things you feel yourself being led, and so you start like shucking and jiving to be like, no, I'm not giving you the win on this one. And I think that's kind of what happened with this lady. But it's, I don't know. This whole thing is feeling more and more like silencing people, you know? Like I'm getting concerned, you know, because like I think obviously it's really weird, and people are getting really hard in their camp, whether it's like Palestinian camp or Israel camp or whatever, because like we know Hamas lies constantly. We know that they show dead bodies from the past and say they're new dead bodies. We know they put living people in body bags and say they're dead. We know that they lie. A lot of times if they're talking, they're lying. You know, Hamas. And then, but Israel, we know they've not been the most truthful, and they've not been the most friendly with Palestine. And like, you know, when we first were talking about October 7th, October 6th, what was it? October 7th, right?
I think so.
Yeah. We're looking into it. They're like, hey, this is in response to what they were doing at that mosque, you know, and like that one like elected lawmaker was like, come on, let's go in this mosque and basically like F them up, you know, let's, you know, do Jewish prayers and all this stuff. And you go, well, that is pretty messed up. And then like, especially with soldiers with you and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just like these people that like just dig down in these camps where it's like, no, like Israel's the devil. No, Hamas is the devil. And it's just like, there's so much gray in this one where it's like no one is well behaved in this conflict. And like,
Or honest.
yes, we're honest. And it makes it impossible. And like, you can't conflate it. And like, yeah, what they did on October 7th was horrendous, you know? Like, that was horrendous. And like, but like responding by waving Nazi flags and calling for gassing of all the Jews, it's like, what? How is that okay? Like, what world have we stepped into where it's like that's the reasonable position? And you go, oh, don't worry about that. That's just a couple weirdos. It's like, I don't know. It seems to happen a lot right now. I don't know. It's a weird time. Well, looking at it, I think that's going to do it. Yeah, because we got some football to watch, Charlie. Buccaneers about to kick off. UCF made it to a bowl game in spite of their mediocre season, where they still almost beat Oklahoma. So I'm going to do that against Georgia Tech. So go with the Drennans and root against them. So anyway, like us, follow us. We're on all the things. Find us, loadedtalk.com for all the things. Until next week, what you got, Charlie?
Try and be reasonable, planet Earth.
This is ridiculous. You can beg all you want. It's not happening. All right, let's go.